Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're looking at something pretty fundamental, something that touches all of us. Death.
Right. But we're approaching it from, let's say, a different angle, spiritual and yogic perspectives, trying to get beyond the usual fear and maybe misinformation.
Exactly. We know there's a lot of curiosity out there about this. It's a core part of life, right? And hopefully this deep dive offers some, well, surprising insights.
We'll be drawing heavily from Sadhguru's book, Death, an Inside Story. It really explores the whole process, the quality of death, the possibilities around it, all from that yogic viewpoint.
So our mission today is to pull out those key understandings, get past the common anxieties, and maybe reveal a perspective that feels a bit more, I don't know, profound, empowering even.
Yeah, and the book kicks off by tackling this very fundamental question about death, one that often gets pushed aside or covered over by religious narratives.
And the author even calls them idiotic stories at one point, which is quite direct.
It is. The idea is that instead of looking squarely at death, we get these prepackaged answers that maybe don't encourage deeper inquiry.
We tend to shy away from it. But the book grounds us differently, saying death isn't just something waiting for us way off in the future.
Precisely. It frames death as an active, ongoing process, happening right now, actually, at the cellular level.
Like how doctors assess biological age.
Exactly that. They look at the state of your cells, your organs. It's this constant cycle, things being created, things breaking down, life and death intertwined.
So it's not just an endpoint. And it starts much earlier than we usually think.
Oh, absolutely. The book makes the point that the process of death, in a way, begins even before we're born. So viewing it only as a future event is, well, quite limited, ignorant even, the book suggests. True awareness, it says, means seeing this constant interplay, even just watching your breath, that in-breath, out-breath cycle mirrors it.
It really reframes things. Now, the book also takes on some common beliefs, like the idea that constantly thinking about God automatically makes you spiritual.
Yes, that's a big one. But the book offers a counter-argument, which is quite thought-provoking.
What's the gist?
Well, it suggests that this kind of constant mental focus, while seeming pious, can sometimes lead to inaction. Or worse, it can foster this dangerous sense of divine backing,
I'm doing God's work, so anything goes.
Something like that. A justification for harmful actions, potentially. There's a little story in the book that illustrates this kind of flawed understanding.
Oh, yeah.
The one about the priest and the boy. The priest keeps asking the boy, who's being mischievous, where is God? God is inside you, trying to scare him straight.
Okay.
But the boy, getting more and more confused, finally says something like, maybe we lost him. He was here a minute ago. It just shows how superficially we can sometimes use these big concepts.
It's a light story, but it makes you think. Sometimes it's not the abstract ideas, but a really sudden personal brush with mortality that forces the questions.
The author shares a memory like that. A schoolgirl, Sucharita. She was there one day, and after a break, just didn't come back. Pneumonia. Just suddenly gone. And that abruptness, that vanishing act, it left a huge impression, sparked this deep curiosity about what it means to just disappear.
That sudden absence is jarring.
Mm-hmm.
It makes you wonder, where did they go? What just happened?
It really does. And later, there was this incredibly powerful experience the author had on Chamundi Hills that seemed to fundamentally shift everything for him regarding life and death.
Sounds like a pivotal moment.
Apparently, yes. He was sitting on a rock, eyes open, and the feeling of being a separate self just started to dissolve. Yeah. The boundaries between him and the rock, the air, everything just blurred and vanished. He describes it as everything becoming me. Indescribable, really. But the me he knew before that moment was gone.
Wow. That feeling of oneness, that profound, it must have completely rewired his perspective.
Absolutely. And from that place of understanding, the book really digs into how life and death aren't opposites, but are completely interdependent.
That's core theme, right? We usually pit them against each other. Life good, death bad.
But the argument is, if you reject death, you're actually rejecting life. Like a river needs two banks to even be a river. Or light needs darkness to be perceived.
So they define each other.
Exactly. And fearing death, therefore, stops you from truly living. If you're constantly afraid of the end, you can't fully embrace the present.
That makes a lot of sense. You're always holding back.
Right. And it goes further, suggesting death is actually life in a very, very intense form.
Intense? How so?
Think about moments of real danger. Your senses are heightened, awareness is razor sharp. There's an anecdote about two war veterans meeting after 50 years. That shared intensity of facing death created this unbreakable bond.
So facing mortality can paradoxically make you feel intensely alive.
That's the idea. The book encourages a daily awareness of mortality, not in a gloomy way, but as a tool to live more fully, be prepared for death, without seeking it out.
And it also says that trying too hard to avoid life's difficulties, that actually invites death in a different way.
Yeah, like dodging life's natural challenges can manifest as illness. It links this avoidance to many modern ailments, which is quite an interesting thought.
Okay, so this naturally leads into the yogic framework of karma, which seems central to this whole perspective on birth and death.
Very central. The book explains that when we're born, we arrive with this kind of inherent software.
Software.
Yeah, a package deal of time, energy, and crucially, karmic information carried over from past existences. These things shape our life.
And there are different types of karma involved.
Correct. There's prarabdha karma, that's the specific slice allocated to be worked through in this lifetime, your current destiny, if you like.
Okay.
And then there's sanchita karma, that's the whole warehouse, the total accumulated stock from all past lives.
Right. And spiritual paths aim to deal with.
The whole lot, ideally, to accelerate the burning off of the entire sanchita karma, not just the prarabdha portion assigned for this life.
Speeding up the process. Now, the book also mentions that everything is alive. Stones, air.
Yes, with different levels of awareness or intent, and importantly, memory. A stone has memory. A tree has memory. An animal. But humans, uniquely, have conscious intent, the ability to choose direction.
And how does this tie back to wearing down that karma?
It describes this karmic wall, or life bubble, the energetic structure holding our imprints. And there are two main ways to wear it down.
Sure.
One is intense spiritual practice, working from the inside out, to thin that bubble until it eventually bursts. That's liberation.
Okay, the inner path.
The other is through external actions and influences. Things like visiting powerful consecrated spaces, being in positive environments, associating with people who uplift you. These things can also chip away at that karmic structure from the outside.
Inner work and outer influences. And this life bubble, it involves different layers of our being.
Yes, the physical body, the mental body, manomaya kosha, and the energy body, pranamaya kosha, all are seen as physical in nature, just different densities, and all carry karmic memory.
And the energy body, the pranamaya kosha, is key.
It's highlighted as the power source, the battery pack that runs the whole show. Purifying and mastering this energy body is central to thinning that bubble and eventually dissolving the need for physical birth.
Which brings us neatly to the pancha pranas, the 5 vital energies. These seem critical to both living and dying.
Absolutely critical. They are the 5 fundamental ways prana, or life energy, functions in the system. Samana, apana, prana, udana, and vyana.
Okay, let's break those down. Samana.
Samana vayu manages body temperature and digestion. Think internal thermostat. The book gives the example of sadhus in the Himalayas withstanding extreme cold. That's mastery over samana.
Incredible internal climate control. What about apana?
Apana vayu governs downward movement elimination, grounding, keeps you connected to the earth.
Makes sense. Prana vayu.
That's the fundamental intake function. Breath, obviously, but also taking in food, water, sensory impressions, the basic fuel intake.
Got it. Udana.
Udana vayu is about upward movement, buoyancy. It relates to defying gravity. With mastery, it can even lead to feelings of lightness or even levitation in extreme cases.
Wow. And the last one, Vyana.
Vyana vayu permeates the whole body. It's the preservative force, holding everything together, binding the cells.
So that explains the mention of some yogis' bodies not decaying quickly.
Exactly. A strong, sustained vyana. And mastery over vyana is what allows for that conscious exit from the body at will.
Leaving the body consciously. That's where this really departs from a purely medical view of death. Science struggles to define death clearly, doesn't it?
It does. Often it's defined by the absence of life signs, heart stops, brain activity ceases. A checklist, essentially.
But the yogic view is different.
Yes. True death, from this perspective, is only when all 5 panchapranas have completely exited the physical body. It's an energetic event, not just physiological cessation.
The author mentioned an experience with medical monitors going flat.
Right, showing that outward signs might cease, but the life force might not have fully withdrawn yet. There's a deeper process.
And the way this energy leaves, it can vary.
Yes. For someone fully conscious, the exit point is said to be the Sahasrara chakra, the crown of the head, sometimes leaving a physical mark, the Brahmarandra. It signifies a very aware departure.
A conscious exit. Which sounds related to Ikaruchu, death by choice. But that's not suicide, is it?
Not in the conventional sense at all. Ikaruchu is transcendence. It comes from mastering the life energies and dismantling the karmic structure completely. It's the ultimate cessation of the birth-death cycle.
That's Mahasamadhi, or Mahaparinirvana in Buddhism.
Exactly. Synonymous terms for liberation, freedom from the cycle, bursting that karmic bubble consciously and completely.
The ultimate goal for many spiritual paths. Now, what about the timing of death? Is it predetermined?
The book suggests it's largely set in relation to our solar cycles, these roughly 12-year periods. The segment of the cycle is somewhat fixed.
But not the day or hour?
Less rigid, it seems. There's some flexibility. Someone with refined perception might sense the general time frame, that window.
Like a probability curve. And animals can sense it too.
Yes, dogs, cats, cobras. Apparently they can smell changes associated with approaching death, maybe within a 48-day window.
Smell. Interesting.
And humans can develop this keen sense too, especially with certain practices. There's also a sad anecdote about missing subtle signs from someone at the yoga center who later died, suggesting death can sometimes be perceived in other ways too, energetically perhaps.
A change in their presence, maybe.
Shifting gears a bit, the book talks about negative energies, curses, things like that.
Yes, the use of energies for harm is an ancient thing. The Atharvana Veda deals with it extensively. Curses are described as focused negative intent that can cause illness or instability.
And places like the Dhyanalinga are meant to counteract this.
That is presented as one of its functions, yes. A space to neutralize such influences. Visiting around the new moon, making offerings at Linga Bhairavi, these are suggested ways to help cleanse oneself.
It's not just about major attacks, though. Smaller things can build up. Right. Just day-to-day negative pickups from food, places, atmospheres can create this subtle drag, this inertia. So periodic cleansing is seen as beneficial.
This brings us to the very human struggle. The choice to live versus the desire to end life.
The author notes an observation that some people seem to constantly find reasons not to live, whereas his own nature is to always seek reasons to live.
And suicidal feelings, where do they fit in?
Often linked to unrealistic expectations, losing perspective in the sheer scale of creation. There's a lovely story about a cow dung salesman.
The tomato sauce one.
That's it. He's ready to end it all, sees his dung cakes as useless. Then someone reframes it. It's tomato sauce for the plants. And his whole perspective shifts. He finds a reason.
Perspective is everything. And hope, even small hopes.
Like buying a lottery ticket. It can be enough to keep someone going through rough patches. A pleasant experience of life generally leads to wanting more life.
But the book warns about misinterpreting spiritual states and trying to leave the body prematurely.
Very strongly. Guidance is crucial on a spiritual path. Most suicidal urges, it argues, come from inner torture thoughts, emotions running wild, a lack of understanding one's fundamental nature.
And there's a core principle stated.
Since we cannot create life, we have no right to take it. It advocates for sympathy, treatment, but also a kind of careful disdain, maybe, for the act itself.
It acknowledges external triggers, too, like the young lovers facing opposition.
Yes. But ultimately, how you approach death joyfully or miserably matters existentially, regardless of societal views. And the duration of being lingers after death depends on unfinished karma, not the cause of death, like suicide versus accident.
So a suicide near the natural end of one's karma is viewed differently.
In terms of consequences for the departed being, yes, it's closer to a natural death. It's about the karmic account.
Okay. What about interfering with death? Trying to stop it or reverse it?
The book is clear. Spiritual practice is about living fully, not cheating death. There's an analogy about the author acting as a peg in certain intense programs, a stable anchor, highlighting how delicate these processes are and why interference is generally unwise.
Like the story of refusing to raise the dead.
Exactly, pointing out the foolishness of disrupting the natural cycle. But it does mention things like the Lazarus phenomenon.
People reviving after being declared dead.
Yes, medically recognized. And in India, certain revivals, especially with snake bites where prana withdraws slowly, are seen less as true resurrection and more as a different kind of intervention, often involving yogic means.
The author survived a cobra bite this way.
Yes, by staying conscious and using yogic practices. There's also mention of tantrics making corpses walk possible because the life process withdraws gradually.
And yogis entering other bodies.
Yeah.
Like Shankara or Thirumolar.
Those stories illustrate advanced abilities, but also the huge energetic cost involved, often shortening the yogi's own lifespan afterward.
Takes a massive toll. So what determines one's readiness for death then?
Profound joy, a sense of transcendence that prepares you, creates a willingness to dissolve. Misery, paradoxically, makes people cling harder because they haven't truly lived.
And the intellect? Its role changes.
The intellect discriminates for survival. Transcendence brings equanimity, but you don't lose the ability to discriminate when needed.
What about entering samadhi? Can that delay death?
Yogis might enter deep samadhi to evade a situation or buy time to work out karma. It's like hitting pause, sometimes even rewinding the dying process slightly.
But the real end goal isn't just delaying.
No, the real end, the goal, is mahasamadhi, complete dissolution. That's the true cessation. There's also jiva samadhi, a conscious self-closure, maybe done by realized beings who lack the specific skill to leave at will or don't want to burden others, but it must be without struggle, peaceful.
And we have examples of these conscious departures.
Several. Nirmalananda choosing his time to avoid rationalists. Viji, Sadhguru's wife, her deliberate mahasamadhi on a full moon. Layman Pang and his daughter calmly preparing for his chosen moment.
Quite incredible stories. So, for the rest of us, how do we prepare for a good death?
The key is internal preparation. The ability to just sit quietly, be at ease, and let go when the time comes. It contrasts human drama with the quiet dignity often seen in animals.
Aim to live blissfully, but at least learn to die well.
That's the sentiment. And the quality of death, violent or peaceful, depends more on your inner state than outer events. Awareness cultivated throughout life is the best preparation.
Even if you don't know when it's coming.
Exactly. Advance notice doesn't guarantee awareness if you haven't cultivated it. It's like your state before sleep affecting sleep quality. Your state before death affects the transition.
Practices like shunya meditation or Isha Kriya help with this.
Yes, understanding that transition from embodied to disembodied. Learning to be asleep while awake. Also, generating ojas, that vital energy, through practices like Kapalabhati, Surya Kriya, Kumbhaka, that can refine the system, make the boundaries less rigid.
Okay, let's talk about the fear of death. It's so common.
It often masks itself, the book suggests. Worry about kids, finances. But the root is often fear of annihilation, stemming from identifying solely with the body.
So the solution involves shifting that identification.
Exploring other dimensions of experience helps lessen the grip of body identity, seeing death not as an end, but as shedding the physical and psychological layers, a recycling, an opportunity for transcendence.
Like the man whose illness became his awakening.
Right, a harsh way to wake up, but it happens. Sitting with the ill or dying can also be a powerful practice to confront one's own mortality.
And fear itself
is just imagination running riot. The answer isn't fighting fear, but gaining mastery over your own thoughts and emotions.
Taking charge of the inner faculties. The book mentions ancient practices, too, related to dying consciously.
Yes, extreme ones like Dhritarashtra, walking into a forest fire. But also the wisdom of Vanaprastha ashrama couples withdrawing to a simpler life in old age, consciously preparing, detaching.
Like a voluntary winding down. Similar to a DNR today.
In spirit, perhaps. There are also practices of reducing food intake to weaken the body consciously, avoiding prolonged suffering. And these weren't done in isolation practices like Salakana, Jain, or Prayopavesa, Hindu, involved community consultation.
A supported conscious choice. And Kashi, Varanasi, comes up again.
As a place where life and death were openly embraced, celebrated, a hub of culture and spirituality focused on this transition.
Now, for helping someone who is dying, what's crucial?
Recognizing their vulnerability once disembodied, like being lost without ID in a strange land. Your last moments, your tendencies then, heavily influence the onward journey.
So our assistance can actually make a difference.
With deep trust and understanding, yes, you can potentially help them achieve things, even liberation that they didn't manage in life. But life itself makes the final call if the body is still viable.
How can we know?
Enhanced perception can gauge the vibrancy of the energy body, the pranamaya kosha, but practically for assisting at home.
Yes, practical tips.
A clean, white room, maybe soft blue light, no photos, minimize attachments. Keep a ghee or butter lamp burning continuously. It helps regulate the prana withdrawal.
Okay.
Having a potent mantra internalized, like Shambho from the Palani Swami anecdote or one from the Vairagya chants, can be a huge support for the dying person.
And positioning the body.
Ideally, move them to an open space like a courtyard. Place them on cloth, on open soil if possible. North-south alignment, head to the north. This apparently eases departure from constructed atmospheres.
The head to the north thing, isn't that usually advised against for sleep?
Yes, in the northern hemisphere, due to blood flow magnetic pull. But at the moment of death, it's thought to facilitate the exit. And after death, tying the big toes together gently helps seal the system, preventing interference as the energies withdraw fully.
Fascinating details. What about cremation versus burial?
Cremation helps bring finality, acceptance. Comes from the idea of leaving no trace. It's often preferred energetically.
And burial.
More common, perhaps, if the exit was very conscious or gentle, leaving some residual energy that might be harnessed, like in a samadhi structure. The book suggests using salt and turmeric with burial to speed decay and deter occult practices.
Energetic differences between the grounds.
Cremation grounds feel active, alive in a way. Burial grounds feel static, neither fully life nor death. Bringing a body home is linked to ancestral land connections.
What about organ donation or body donation?
Seen mainly as an emotional ethical choice. Spiritually neutral if it helps others and was the person's wish. Body donation is okay too, ideally after 11-14 days to allow full energetic withdrawal.
Okay. The book mentions dematerialization too, leaving no body at all.
Yes, historical examples like Ramalinga Adigal, and the author shares a personal account of witnessing someone seemingly dissolve into a flame.
Truly extraordinary. So after death, can we still assist the disembodied being?
Yes. They are seen as helpless, directionless, without a body and conscious mind. Rituals help.
How do rituals help?
2 ways. They help the living process grief and settle psychologically. And they create an atmosphere, direct energy to help the departed, hopefully towards mukti or liberation. Indian culture has very elaborate ones.
Especially for adolescents. They're more susceptible.
Between 10-20, yes. So proper care for the departed helps create protective atmospheres. This ties into runanubandha.
That's the memory from physical contact.
Exactly. Why traditional greetings often avoid touch. Breaking this runanubandha, this memory link, with the dead is vital for the living. Unresolved links can affect health, psychology, cause prolonged grief.
Indian rituals aim to dissolve this consciously.
Yes. The gathering on the 14th day is specifically for relatives to wash their memories, release the departed. Spending time at Dhyanalinga can also help, as it works on separating you from not you, embodied or not.
So rituals direct energy, since the disembodied don't understand language.
Precisely. They draw or guide energy. Kalabhairava karma are specific rituals for those who died without the yogic capacity to mop up their own lingering life aspects. Kalabhairava kriya is a related, intense practice for the living.
Why the caution about teaching these things?
Potential for misuse. And the strong emotions of grieving relatives can interfere. There's also a unique parent-child connection.
How so?
A child occupies an energetic space of the parent. This allows a child to perform actions, rituals that can potentially liberate a deceased parent. The reverse isn't true. This connection solidifies around 3-4 years old.
Wow. And accessing collective knowledge from ancestors.
Ancient cultures managed intermarriage partly to preserve access to this generational wisdom and energy.
This leads us right into the big one, reincarnation.
Yeah, the book dismisses simplistic heaven-hell stories. Death is a dimensional shift, not geographical. What happens next isn't divine reward punishment, but the unfolding of your own karmic structure.
Peace of mind has become the modern heaven, perhaps.
In a way, the book also warns about artificial enhancements, drugs, alcohol potentially degrading human consciousness over generations, and emphasizes how crippling grief can be.
What's the advice regarding the dead?
Don't try to care for them or be uncaring. They've crossed a boundary. Focus on the living. It mentions traditional toe rings for married women.
Meti. Why?
To prevent accidental slipping out of the body during intense experiences, metal helps ground the energy. Similar reasons for using metal in some sadhanas.
And spouses dying close together.
Often due to life disruption and a strong subconscious wish to follow. It contrasts passive fear, trench warfare, with active engagement, ancient battles. Some places hold intense death energy like Kurukshetra or Velayanagiri's Seventh Hill.
Remembering the dead, building monuments like the Taj Mahal.
An emotional investment for the living, not existentially significant for the departed. Pyramids work by trapping Vyanavayu, the preservative energy.
What about ghosts?
Defined as a strong memory body without enough energy for a physical one. In essence, we're all ghosts operating by karma, just some have bodies and more will. Traditional terms like Buddha, Prita refer to different states or stages.
Can they interact with us? Possession.
They perceive us as energy. Possession usually happens through energetic resonance or karmic links. Wearing a dead person's clothes can attract them. Tantrics can trap them.
Ultimately, what do all beings seek?
Dissolution. Consciously or not. A guru waits for the disciple's system to be ripe, then facilitates dissolution, usually around natural death.
There are stories of helping beings move on.
Helping a Native American chief release centuries of despair, allowing certain beings to manifest during Dinalinga consecration, even downloading evolved beings into prepared, willing bodies.
When does life enter the womb?
Typically 40-48 days after conception, signs like tears, blue flashes, snake dreams around 45-65 days might indicate a highly aware being entering, triggering specific prenatal processes.
These are really multiple lives.
Fundamentally, life is one. Multiple lives is a mental construct, different compartments of memory. Accessing them prematurely causes confusion.
So don't chase past lives.
Focus on present awareness, 100% responsibility, inner engineering. Your dominant longings at death shape the next body situation, balancing dualities, not punishment reward.
Couples staying together lifetime after lifetime.
Deep bond, but no guarantee of automatic reunion. Modern society values who you are over lineage.
The moon cycles and birth.
A moon-Earth conspiracy for physical birth via menstrual lunar cycles suggests a limit to purely physical evolution. Reaching 1,008 full moons around 84 years destabilizes the energy body, increasing chances for Mahasamadhi as karma weakens.
Enlightened beings.
Retain qualities from birth, manifest when conditions are right. Tibetan Buddhism, influenced by Tantra, has consciously determined reincarnations.
More stories.
Bilva, the tribesman whose death was foretold. Shiva Yogi, returning as Sadhguru Sri Brahma for Jnanalinga, facing resistance. Kamaraja's wisdom. Even key people are dispensable for progress. Future generations should surpass us.
And the speaker's own presence after death.
Stronger for 80 years, he says, to help clean up those touched. Not physical presence, but efficient influence from a minimal energy state.
The main concern remains.
Modern societies extend lifespan but lack awareness of how to die well. Simple processes like Isha Kriya aim to help people face death consciously, with dignity.
Liberation at death is guaranteed if karma is done.
If parabdha karma is complete, there's a space of no karma near the end. Dissolution is easier then. If death comes before karma is finished, forcing dissolution doesn't really work.
This has been an incredibly deep exploration, so many layers to understanding death from this perspective.
It really shifts the view from death as just an ending, doesn't it? It becomes part of the fabric of life, and understanding it can change how you live.
Absolutely. Seeing it not as something to fear, but maybe as a transition, a process intrinsic to life itself, it certainly offers a more conscious way to approach our own mortality.
And as we said, this is just a glimpse. We hope it sparks some reflection, maybe encourages you to explore the source material further. There's so much depth there.
Definitely food for thought. So the question we leave you with is this. How might embracing this understanding of death, really integrating it, change the choices you make in your life today and every day?
Thanks for joining us on The Deep Dive.